Somebody's about to get betrayed, and they don't even see it coming. Episode 8 gave us tension, loyalty tests, and quiet setups that are going to explode soon. You can feel the walls closing in, and the next move could decide who walks away and who gets left behind. Let's talk about it. This episode wasn't flashy. It wasn't about wild shootouts or big street-level drama. No, this one was quiet, sharp, and personal. You could feel the weight in the silences, in the long looks, in the hesitations. This was the kind of episode that slows everything down. Just enough to make you uneasy, like something's about to break, but no one knows when or how. The theme? Trust, or more like, who still has it and who's about to lose it. Asterisk, there's something powerful about how BMF uses tension. Episode 8 didn't overload us with action, but it layered pressure on every character slowly. You could feel it in the way Meech watched people more carefully, in how Terry second-guessed almost every decision, even in the way side characters moved, there was hesitation. That's the beauty of this show. It knows when to give us fire, and when to simmer just enough to make us feel like something's burning underneath. A lot of this episode was about setups, quiet ones. Conversations that seem small, but carry big weight later. Looks that say more than full scenes. It's like the writers wanted us to sit in the uncertainty. That what's going to happen next energy was strong. And even though there weren't huge plot twists dropping every few minutes, you knew everything that happened here is going to matter in episode 9. Asterisk the tone, though, cold. There's a certain emotional chill that ran through this episode, not a lot of comfort or warmth. Even the moments that usually feel safe, like family or crew loyalty, didn't feel solid. They felt fragile, and that's the key word for this episode, fragile. Everything is on the edge. Trust is fragile, plans are fragile, and relationships. They're starting to crack. Asterisk, we also gotta talk about the pacing. Some people might say this was a slower episode, and yeah, if you're just looking for chaos and bullets, maybe it didn't hit like that. But for real fans who pay attention to detail, this was set up gold. Every conversation, every pause, every choice was leading us somewhere. The writers are cooking. They're laying the groundwork for something way bigger. And by the time we get to episode 9, that pressure's gonna pop. Asterisk. So in short, the theme of this episode is watch your back. And not just in the streets, but even at home. People are watching each other closer. Doubt is growing. And nobody's hands are clean anymore. Whether it's family, business, or the block, loyalty is under the microscope. Asterisk, now let's talk about the characters, because this episode gave us a lot of quiet moves from Meech, Terry, and a few people we didn't expect. The chessboard is moving, and we gotta break it down. Asterisk, let's start with Meech, quiet, focused, and more locked in than ever. This episode showed us a side of Meech that isn't just hustling, he's strategizing. He's thinking 3 moves ahead now, not just how to move weight, but how to move people. Meech isn't trusting words anymore, he's watching behavior. Who shows up, who hesitates, who lies with a straight face, he's clocking everything. And he's getting colder, too. Not heartless, but calculated, like someone who's been burned enough to know what loyalty should look like and what it doesn't. Asterisk, there's a scene, not loud, not dramatic, where Meech is just sitting back, letting someone talk. But you can tell he already knows the truth. He's just giving them rope. That's how he's moving now. Less reaction, more observation. That's dangerous, because a quiet Meech. That means something's about to happen. He's no longer trying to save everybody, he's trying to win. And that mindset shift is huge. Asterisk, now Terry, he's slipping. You can feel it. His emotions are pulling him into many directions. He wants to be in the game, but also protect his family. He wants power, but also peace. He wants out, but still wants the respect that comes with being in. And in this episode, that confusion starts to show. He hesitates more, questions more, and the streets. They don't wait for second guesses. There's one scene, you'll know the one, where Terry is supposed to make a call, and instead of leading, he pauses, and in that pause, you can see the gap between him and Meech getting wider. Terry's biggest problem right now is that his heart isn't where his hands are. He says he's committed, but you can feel the doubt creeping in. And in this world, that's deadly. Meech is focused, Terry is torn, and if they're not moving as one, the operation cracks. Simple as that. Now let's talk about Lamar. Even if he only showed up for a moment, his presence is always heavy. Whether he's on screen or not, you feel him. That's what makes him such a strong antagonist. He's unpredictable, he's emotional, and he doesn't care about rules. That energy? It's dangerous because it means nobody is truly safe. He's not making chess moves, he's swinging hammers. And that chaos, that raw threat, it's building. The writers are clearly setting up for a big confrontation soon. Lamar's too quiet right now. And that's never a good sign. As for the supporting characters, they're moving too. Some people are starting to play both sides. Others are starting to question their roles. There's a lot of shifting happening in the background, small scenes, side conversations, tiny betrayals, the type of stuff that doesn't feel huge now, but is going to break everything later. Take K9 for example. He didn't say much this episode, but his silence said everything. You can tell he's watching Meech closely, maybe even planning something, and with someone. Like him, one wrong move from Meech, and it could all go sideways. These kinds of characters are like pressure points in the story. Not loud, but deadly when pressed. And then you've got Detective Bryant lurking again. He's not out of the picture. In fact, his presence might be the slowest burning fuse in the show, because while everyone else is worried about the streets, Meech might be forgetting that the law is still building a case. And Bryant, he's personal. He's not just trying to make an arrest, he's trying to make an example. That tension is coming too. Every major character in this episode is either tightening their circle or realizing that their circle is breaking apart. Nobody's really standing still. Everyone is adjusting, either for survival, for revenge, or for power. And by the end of this episode, it's clearer. The ones who don't adapt are gonna get left behind. This wasn't just a character-building episode. It was a character-testing episode. And only a few of them passed. The rest, they're on thin ice. Now that we've looked at how the players are shifting, let's dive into what actually blew things up. Because yeah, this episode may have been slow burning, but there were a few major moments that flipped everything on its head. Let's get into it, because even though this episode felt calm on the surface, the quiet moments hit the hardest. And one of the biggest twists wasn't some big shootout or dramatic betrayal. It was what didn't happen, what almost happened. The writers are playing with silence now, the kind that makes you hold your breath. And by the end of the episode, you know something just shifted, and there's no going back. One of the most tense moments in the episode, no spoilers, but you'll know exactly what I mean, is that final scene. Someone makes a move, but they don't do it all the way. It's hesitation wrapped in loyalty, or maybe fear, and that half step says everything. Because in this game, not acting is just as dangerous as pulling the trigger. That final moment was all about watching someone freeze, and now we're left wondering, did they just spare someone they shouldn't have? Or did they just put a target on their own back? Now let's talk about the fake loyalty on display in this episode. There's someone close to the crew who's clearly switching sides. They're smiling in Meech's face, but you can feel it, they're either leaking info or playing both ends. It's not confirmed yet, but the signs are all there. A look held too long, a story that doesn't line up. An alibi that feels too clean. That's how BMF builds tension. They don't say it outright. They let you feel it creeping in. Asterisk this. Betrayal in progress might not fully explode until next episode, but it's cooking. And when it does hit, it's not going to be loud. It's going to be surgical. Someone is getting cut off for good. That's the twist that's coming. Asterisk another. Moment that hit hard was Terry's emotional slip. He's been trying to hold it together, but this episode pushed him to the edge. There's a point where he almost confesses something, not just to his family, but to himself. It's not about guilt. It's about exhaustion. He's tired of pretending to be the calm one, the responsible one, the one who keeps everything balanced. You can tell the weight is getting to him. And one more bad move from Meech or the streets. Terry's either going to crack or cut and run. And either one is bad for business. And then we had the unexpected return. Again, no spoilers, but someone who hasn't been seen for a while suddenly steps back into the picture. They don't say much, but their presence alone changes everything. You can feel the energy shift. Because when ghosts from the past show up in BMF, it's never just to say hello. It means someone is in trouble, and that comeback. It's going to light a fuse that can't be undone. Asterisk, there's also a major power move that Meech pulls off, and it's so slick, you almost miss it. He repositions someone in the crew, not by force, but by suggestion, and just like that, the hierarchy changes. That's how real bosses move. No shouting, no threats, just strategy. The twist here is that he's not just thinking about Detroit anymore. He's looking at expansion, growth, the long game. And it's clear that some people in the crew aren't ready for that level of vision. That creates friction, and friction leads to fire. Asterisk finally, let's not ignore the law enforcement angle. It's been quiet, too quiet. But there's a scene that suggests the feds aren't just watching, they're preparing. It's all in the background, a file left open, a name underlined. A photo we've seen before, now with new connections. It's a small detail, but it changes everything. Because while the streets are focused on loyalty, family, and money, the government is building a case, and that quiet build-up? It's going to come crashing down when nobody's looking. Asterisk to sum it up, this episode didn't drop huge bombs. It planted them carefully, quietly. But they're there, under the surface, and when they go off, it's going to flip this whole season on its head. Asterisk next. Let's break down the visual language and emotional layers that made this episode feel so heavy. The cinematography, the music, the energy, because even without flashy action, this one looked and felt different. One thing that separates BMF from a lot of other shows is how it feels visually. It's not just the story, it's the way the story is shown, and episode 8 leaned into that heavy. From the lighting, to the camera angles, to the soundtrack choices, the whole episode had this cold, tense, slow burn vibe. It was like watching a storm roll in from a distance. You couldn't see the lightning yet, but you knew it was coming. Asterisk, let's start with the cinematography. This episode used space in a really smart way. A lot of wide shots, empty rooms, long hallways, isolated characters. It made people look small, surrounded by tension. You could tell that even the strongest characters were starting to feel boxed in. Some scenes had that dim, gray filter, giving everything a washed-out feel. No warmth, no comfort, just pressure. It wasn't flashy, but it said everything about where the story is headed. Isolation, suspicion, paranoia. Asterisk, then there were the close-up shots, especially during those key conversations. Every raised eyebrow, every long pause, every twitch of doubt was captured up close. The camera sat on people's faces a few seconds longer than usual. And that extra second, it made things uncomfortable, but in a good way. It forced the viewer to feel the tension. BMF knows when to let the silence talk, and this episode did that masterfully. Asterisk the music in this episode also carried weight. There weren't as many needle drops or flashy throwback tracks. Instead, we got slower, moody instrumentals, low bass, haunting piano, distant beats. It didn't hype you up, it made you listen closer. The sound design was telling you, this is serious, pay attention. Even during scenes without dialogue, the music made you feel like something was about to happen. Even when it didn't, that suspense done right. Asterisk one standout visual moment, without giving anything away, was that scene near the end with the red lighting. That whole scene was layered in shadows, with just enough light to see faces, but not enough to feel safe. Red lighting in BMF usually means one thing, danger. And here, it was quiet danger. Nobody raised their voice, but the vibe said everything. Someone's playing a dangerous game, and they don't even know they're being watched. Asterisk now let's talk final thoughts. This episode might not be everyone's favorite if they're only here for action or fast-paced drama, but if you've been riding with this show for the story, for the build-up, this was one of the most important episodes of the season. This was the setup before the storm, the pressure cooker before the explosion. Asterisk BMF Season 4. Episode 8 was a reminder that real power doesn't always come from the loudest person in the room. Sometimes it's the quiet ones you need to watch, the ones who sit back, listen, and wait for the right moment to strike. This episode was all about those moments, the quiet betrayals, the cold silences, the eyes that say more than words. Asterisk so what's the verdict? For me, it's a solid 8.5 out of 10. It wasn't action heavy, but it mattered. Every scene was a move on the chessboard, and now, with only a couple episodes left, the board is almost full. Someone's about to make a final move, and it's going to hurt. Asterisk if I had to sum up this episode in one line. The streets are quiet, too quiet, and that means war is coming. Asterisk what do y'all think? Who's about to flip? Who's in too deep? And is Meech ready for the heat that's about to come from all sides? Asterisk let me know in the comments, and if you're locked in for the next episode breakdown, hit that subscribe and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Asterisk.